Almost any game has stats, whether it is a simple health bar or a complex RPG with multiple stats referencing each other. You can access the stat system through tools, Stavian Games Stat System Editor. And there are different types of stats. A strength, vitality, or intelligence, for example, represents one numeric value, and the health, for example, represents or is clamped between 0 and a maximum value. To create a stat, you just click the plus button, and in this example I want to create an attribute, and I'm going to call this attribute Hunger. The idea of the editor is to provide a way to modify values without coding. In this example, I'm going to create a new effect and call this effect Hunger Damage, where I want to apply every second or every 2 seconds damage to Hunger. So let's add stat system, apply damage to Hunger on self. I want to apply 1 damage. And I want to apply it every 2 seconds. So every 2 seconds we will apply 1 damage to Hunger. Let's go back to our Hunger attribute and set the base value to 100, the cap to 100, and we will start with 10%. So we will start with 10 Hunger. So we don't need to wait that long until the Hunger reaches 0. Normally you would start with 100%, but for testing purposes I'm going to set this to 10%. And the stat system or the stat system editor works together with a stats handler. So I'm going to select our player. It has already a stats handler component on it with a list of stats, and I'm clicking on the plus button and I'm going to select the currently created Hunger stat. And the default effects that will run from startup. This will be Hunger. Yep. Let's rename this to Hunger Damage maybe. And as you can see here, the -1 means that this effect will repeat it basically all the time. If you set it to 1, it will do it once and then stop. Or if you set it to 2, then it will repeat this 2 times and then it will remove the effect itself. So I'm going to set it to -1 again. And now we should also add a stats bar. Let me remove this for testing. So I'm going to stat system, examples, prefabs, and drag and drop the stat bar to the UI. So let's rename this to Hunger bar. Here we need to select the stat. So it should represent the Hunger stat. And everything else is set up correctly. So when we hit now play, we should see the stats bar with 10% starting. So it started with 10 out of 100. When this Hunger reaches 0, nothing would happen because we haven't created the callback yet. So let's add a new callback here. And I want to apply damage to health once the Hunger reaches 0. So once current value is less or equal to 0, I want to add an effect, and that effect is the damage to health. So let's go back to our effects, click on the plus button again, and create hunger health damage effect. And here we do basically the same. We want to apply damage to self, health, and I want to, let's say we want to apply 5 damage every second. So let's go back to time, add wait 1 second, and then we can set the effect here, hunger health damage. And I want to stop to apply damage to health once the current value is greater than 0. So I'm going to add a new callback. If the current value is greater than 0, I want to remove the effect. So I'm going to use remove effect action, select our hunger health damage on self, and that's basically it. What I want to do also is I want to stop regeneration once the hunger is 0. So let's add a compare action here. Move it up. So I want to compare hunger. If the current value is greater than 0, then we should regenerate health. And when the hunger is less or equal than 0, then this action will return false and apply damage, and wait will not be executed. So that's basically it, and we can hit play. Now when our hunger reaches 0, we should see 5 damage every second to health. As you can see, it's working. Now when we're respawning, we can reset or refresh the hunger. So let's do that. Let's go back to the stat system. And in the health, we have this death effect. So let's go to the effects, death, and all the we are doing all this when the player dies. You don't need to do this. You can just remove this effect and do it in code. I have a documentation on my website how you can add effects from code, or how, yeah, basically how you can check if the stat's current value is less than 0, and then do all this in your custom script. But I wanted to provide a visual editing system for when the player dies or when he is out of mana and so on. So let's refresh the hunger after respawn. So we are using here already refresh on self, we're refreshing health. So I'm going to just add stat system refresh, move it up, and I want to use it to the hunger stat on self. Let's remove the saved data, hit play again. So after respawning, the character should have 100 hunger out of 100. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching.